Okay, let's really get into this. Imagine you had a magic wand, right? For just one thing, anything at all, big or small, to become real or perfectly clear.
Hmm.
What pops into your mind first? That little flicker of a wish? That's often a clue, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. A sort of subtle nudge towards what truly matters.
Exactly. And that's kind of the starting point for this deep dive today.
It's fascinating, actually, how that simple question cuts through all the surface noise. It lets you glimpse, those deeper desires.
Right.
It hints at potential, something just beyond where we are now.
Hmm.
Sets the stage, really, for exploring how we might actually move towards those things.
Absolutely, because we're diving deep into Paige Williams's work on the creative keys. Now, before you think, okay, arts and crafts time.
Right. It's not necessarily about that.
No, this isn't about mastering pottery or, finally writing that novel, though actually it could certainly help with those things.
Sure. Good.
But it's more fundamental. It's a way of being, really. A process for unlocking the things that hold us back, those internal barriers we build up.
Yeah, the ones built from fear and self-doubt, maybe even shame.
Think of them like locks on the life we really want to be living.
Exactly. And these locks, they're not just minor annoyances, are they? As Paige Williams puts it, they can they can really prevent us from experiencing life fully.
How so?
Well, they hinder our ability to connect authentically, to
Hmm.
love deeply, like you said,
Yeah.
and to express our unique selves, whatever that looks like for each person.
Right. It's about removing those constraints that limit our potential for, well, a fulfilling life.
Yeah.
So, for you, the learner listening in, our mission today is to really get under the hood of the initial stages of this framework. We're focusing on the first three keys.
Willingness, courage, and hope.
Right. And how you can start using them to maybe pick some of those really fundamental locks. This is really for anyone who feels a bit, stuck in the mud.
Hmm. Sensing a need for change.
Yeah, whether you're navigating something complex, maybe technically, or just trying to figure out, okay, what's my next step?
And if we sort of zoom out a bit, these first three keys, they're really the foundation. They
Yeah.
tackle that initial resistance, that inertia we often feel when we're facing change.
Mhm.
It's about getting that first bit of momentum going, cultivating that inner readiness, that fortitude you need to even begin dismantling the bigger obstacles.
You mentioned Paige Williams talks about these locks preventing us from living fully, loving deeply, creating authentically. That's a powerful trio of limitations, isn't it?
It really is. And she weaves in these really personal stories, which I think makes it so relatable.
Like what?
Well, her experiences growing up Southern Baptist in Mississippi, the challenges she faced coming out, it's not just abstract theory.
No, it feels grounded.
Exactly. You have these very human experiences mixed in with practical exercises, reflection prompts.
And those personal stories are so vital, aren't they? They ground these concepts in, well, real life. They show these aren't just ideas, but principles lived out through significant personal change.
Definitely. Her openness about her vulnerabilities makes the whole framework feel much more tangible, more accessible, like having a guide who's, walked the path already.
Right. So, our goal here is to pull out those actionable insights, those thought provoking bits that give you those aha moments without feeling like you're, trying to drink from a fire hose.
Yeah, making it digestible.
Okay, so let's turn our attention to the very first key then, willingness. Page describes it as the initial seed of any real change, that act of opening up to the unknown,
And what's really interesting is the substance she identifies for this key,
which is
desperation.
desperation. That sounds kind of negative.
Well, yeah, our initial reaction might be negative, but she reframes it quite compellingly. It's that point, that pivotal moment when things become so unbearable, you just say, enough.
Right.
Like-
I can't do this anymore.
Exactly. That feeling of desperation, maybe counterintuitively, can be the precise catalyst that makes us willing to look for another way. It's like the pain of staying put finally outweighs the fear of the new.
Yeah, she uses her own story, doesn't she? That moment of her laughter drunk in Missoula, that raw, desperate prayer for help.
Hmm.
It really brings home that idea that hitting rock bottom, or what feels like it, can actually be the start of something new. A willingness to let go, maybe admit you need help.
It feels like an end, but it can be the very first step towards being open to change, to surrender.
And if we connect this to the first lock, she talks about the fear of the unknown.
Ah, yes.
You can see how willingness directly confronts that. Fear loves the familiar, right? It convinces us to stay safe, even if safe is miserable.
Hmm. But willingness starts to crack that illusion open. It introduces the possibility, just the possibility, that the unknown might hold something better.
Exactly. And it's not about suddenly having a perfect plan or knowing every single step. It's just being receptive to that very next, maybe tiny step.
Even if the big picture is still foggy.
Right. She points out how often we get paralyzed needing certainty before we act. Willingness kind of flips that script. It encourages experimenting, taking one small step into the uncertainty.
And it's crucial to remember, as she really emphasizes, these keys aren't just for, massive life overhauls.
Right, not just the big dramatic stuff.
No, they're just as relevant for everyday adjustments, those little shifts we sense we need. Trying a new approach at work, maybe, or having a tricky conversation. It applies across the board.
And she offers some really useful reflection questions to help cultivate this willingness.
Yeah, those are great.
Things like, what's actually holding me back right now? Where do I feel genuinely stuck? Where could I maybe just soften my stance a bit, open my mind just a little?
What am I really afraid of here?
Yeah, and what possibilities might I be totally overlooking? And then that really practical one. What's one genuinely small step I could take today? Like, realistically.
Those are definitely worth sitting with for a bit. Yeah. They act like gentle probes, helping us find those specific points of resistance inside ourselves.
Yeah.
They encourage a shift from just passively accepting limits to actively exploring what else might be possible. More curiosity.
And then she introduces this lovely idea of creatively curious experiments.
I like that phrase. Me too.
Small, almost playful actions to just gently nudge ourselves forward without all the pressure of huge expectations.
Like what sort of things?
Little things like, okay, if fear grips you, just take one deep, conscious breath. Or if a step feels way too big, shrink it down. Make it almost ridiculously small so you can do it.
Okay.
Even just silently whispering to yourself, I'm open to learning, if you notice yourself getting defensive or shutting down.
Those micro actions are so smart because they kind of bypass our usual resistance to big change.
Yeah, they sneak under the radar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Low stakes ways to test the waters, build a bit of agency, get some momentum without setting off all the fear alarms. It's like tricking the system almost.
Yeah, and then there's that super simple but actually quite powerful activity. Just completing the sentence, I am willing to, in a notebook.
Writing it down.
She really emphasizes how actually writing it makes the intention more concrete, makes the invisible visible, she says.
That act of putting pen to paper, it transforms a vague thought into something more like a declaration, even if it's just for you.
It makes it real.
Yeah, it's a subtle but important step towards commitment.
Exactly. Because, as she puts it, willingness, no matter how small the gesture seems, it's fundamentally a yes to life, a decision to engage. And that yes, she argues, paves the way for the next key, courage.
Right, courage. Key number 2. Described as the very heartbeat of transformation. It's that willingness, building on the first key, to take that single, often small step forward, even when fear is right there with you.
Yeah, it's not about not feeling fear. It's about acting anyway.
Precisely. It's that go-ahead whisper when fear is shouting, stay safe, stay put.
It's so true. We often picture courage as these, grand, heroic acts. But she points out, and I think rightly, it's much more often found in those quiet, everyday moments of bravery.
Absolutely. And the substance of courage, according to Page. Breath. That conscious act of breathing in, breathing out, it can kind of wake us up from anxiety, disrupt that cycle of fearful thoughts.
Ground us.
Yeah, ground us firmly in the present moment, which is ultimately the only place courageous action can actually happen.
She shares her own story, again, sheer, about making her documentary Mississippi Queen.
That's a powerful example.
Despite feeling like an imposter, facing potential rejection from her family, she still moved forward, but it wasn't like this big show of bravado.
No, she describes it as more of a shaky whisper of courage.
Yeah. Sending those first emails, having those really tough, vulnerable talks with her parents.
That vulnerability really humanizes courage, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It busts that myth that courageous people are fearless.
Oh.
Instead, it shows courage often looks like small, maybe hesitant actions taken despite major internal resistance. Moving forward, even when your knees are knocking, basically.
And she draws a direct line from courage to overcoming a big barrier, perfectionism.
Ah, yes. Perfectionism. The enemy of good enough.
Right. That insidious voice saying, if you can't do it flawlessly first time, don't even bother. It's such a powerful way we keep ourselves stuck, preventing those crucial first risks.
It really is a major block to courage. It sets the bar impossibly high, so the fear of messing up stops us from even starting. The potential for imperfection feels bigger than the desire for progress.
But the key, she says, the key to unlocking courage is embracing those small acts of bravery.
Echoes of the willingness experiments.
Exactly. It's those seemingly tiny steps, sending the email, writing the first sentence, that gradually build momentum and strengthen that courage muscle.
And she offers a really practical way to cultivate it. Action.
Mhm.
Causes and conditions, she calls it.
Right. What are the steps?
First, identify your specific fears. Get clear on what they actually are. Then, challenge the stories you're telling yourself about those fears.
Okay. Question the narrative.
Yeah. And finally, take one deliberate small step forward despite the fear. It's a tangible step-by-step way through it.
I like that. And she even suggests talking to someone you see as courageous.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just asking them about their own definition of courage, how they handle their fears. You can learn so much from those conversations.
That makes sense. Learning from others who faced similar feelings can be really validating. And you get different perspectives on how to cope. Reminds you you're not alone in it.
And she wraps up this section by saying that every single act of courage, no matter how small it feels, actually strengthens our foundation inside. And, crucially, it connects us directly to the next key.
Which is hope.
Hope, the third key.
And hope is described as that quiet, persistent inner light. The one that just refuses to go out even when things look pretty bleak. It's a grounded belief that something better is possible, even if you can't see the whole path clearly yet.
She contrasts it really starkly with despair, doesn't she? That heavy feeling of being cut off from possibility, convinced the future holds nothing new.
Which leads to inaction, that kind of resigned paralysis.
Yeah. And she points out that cynicism, that why bother attitude, and also waiting for certainty, needing guarantees before you can believe, those are major roadblocks to hope.
Right. Just like courage, hope doesn't wait for all the evidence to be in. It requires a conscious choice to believe, even with uncertainty hanging around.
She shares another really touching story about hope showing up as a whisper when she was making Mississippi Queen.
How did that happen?
Unexpected support, donations, even from strangers, people believing in the project when maybe she was doubting herself. That feeling that someone else sees value in what you're doing, that can be incredibly powerful.
Oh, definitely. That external validation can be such a vital lifeline, especially when things are tough. It can reignite your own belief when your resolve is starting to fray.
And she reflects on how the film eventually winning awards and then that leading to her tech company, Oddpop, how that whole journey was really lit up by both courage and hope working together.
It's a great illustration of how these keys feed each other. Courage gets you started. Hope keeps you going through the bumps and the unknowns.
And there's that incredibly moving moment in the film itself where her mother says,
Oh, yes.
"Let God be God and I'll just be your mama."
Such a powerful line.
It just embodies so much hope for connection, for acceptance, despite everything.
That moment of profound acceptance, given the context, it's a huge reminder of hope's power to bridge divides and foster connection, even when it seems impossible.
Exactly. And Paige emphasizes that hope often just whispers, it nudges us gently to keep going. Reminds us that creativity, whatever form it takes for us, is this incredibly potent force for healing and connection.
And it's hope that fuels our resilience, right? Our ability to keep looking for solutions, to be willing to try again after setbacks. That basic belief that a good outcome is possible keeps us in the game.
She offers some really practical guidance, too, for actively cultivating hope when things feel tough.
Like what?
Like, take time to write it out, get the worries onto paper, do some mind mapping, brainstorm potential solutions visually, and actively seek out inspiration.
Where?
Art, music, nature, stories, anything that sparks that sense of wonder and possibility inside you again.
Those are proactive things you can do. Engaging with the challenge, yes, but also actively looking for sparks of light, potential answers, moving from waiting to acting.
And she ties it all together beautifully by saying hope doesn't make fear disappear.
No magic wand there either.
Right. But it gives us that essential inner strength to keep moving forward, keep creating, even if it's just through those courageous, tiny micro steps we talked about.
Ultimately, hope feels like an act of trust. Trusting your own resilience, trusting that answers will come, trusting the path will reveal itself if you just keep exploring and creating. Faith in the unfolding process.
So wow, we've covered quite a bit of ground there through those first three foundational keys.
Yeah, willingness, courage, and hope.
Willingness, that crucial first spark, often ignited when we admit things need to change. Courage, the ongoing action, step by step, even with fear. And hope, that guiding light that keeps us going.
And it's so clear how they're interconnected, isn't it? Willingness opens the door, courage steps through, and hope lights the path ahead. It's like a positive feedback loop.
And it's really important for you, the learner, to remember that even those seemingly tiny acts of willingness or courage or hope, they can create this amazing ripple effect.
Leading to insights and opportunities you might not even imagine right now.
These first three keys really offer a potent starting point for anyone feeling stuck or just yearning for something more.
Absolutely. By actively cultivating willingness, embracing courage in small ways, and nurturing that persistent hope, you start to dismantle those initial blocks and open up to new possibilities.
So as you're thinking about all this, let's loop back to that magic wand question from the start. Now that we've explored these first keys, what single small act of willingness or courage or hope could you maybe commit to taking today? Just one small step towards that thing you wished for.
Yeah, that's the real takeaway, isn't it? Consider which of these keys resonates most right now. What's one tiny, doable step you feel inspired to take?
And if this has sparked something for you, I really encourage you to maybe look further into the other keys in Paige Williams's work. There's surrender, storytelling, trust and release, honesty, lots more.
It's a whole framework.
Yeah, it offers a really comprehensive and insightful path for that ongoing journey of creative wisdom and personal growth.
And each of those later keys builds on this foundation, giving you more tools and perspectives for navigating the complexities of transformation, both personal and creative.
Ultimately, please remember you, the learner, you have this inherent capacity for change and creation inside you. It's often untapped.
Yeah.
These keys are just tools, really, to help you unlock that potential that's already there.
And that journey starts with that first small act. Willingness, fueled by courage, guided by hope.